Hey guys, it's Miko, and this is Wavebreaker by ML Sound Lab.
Turn the page and catch the pivot. No compass, just a storm. Embrace it down within it until you wash ashore.
Okay, this is our latest and greatest amazing entry into a completely new kind of a plugin. This is a mixing plugin, and hopefully it will replace your favorite saturation plugin. Hopefully it will also replace your favorite compressor plugin. Hopefully it will also replace your mastering, quick mix master, or even serious master plugin. And hopefully even in many cases you don't need another EQ plugin, because you can just use Wavebreaker. Let's jump straight into it and go through what's included. So right now, this is the UI of Wavebreaker, and we have the input volume, output volume, and the Wavebreaker view. Right now, I've paused it so I can actually show you what it's all about. You see the ML teal color here, which is the waveform of the audio that you're listening to. Once you start to use the saturation, you can see the saturation influence in darker teal. So you can see that having some saturation in is adding sustain to this part here. Once you're compressing, you can actually see white, which is breaking the wave. This is kind of like water, wave, the ocean. So you're breaking the foam with compression, and then you're adding some sustain with the saturation. This is sort of a warm tape or transformer style of saturation, and you can go really hard with this. It will add heft and aggression to your tracks, and it's premium high quality sort of saturation. Then we have compression, where we have three different modes. We have a punchy 1176, very accurate 1176, I might say. It's actually matched with an 1178, so a stereo version of 1176. Then we have a glue compressor that is based on an SSL or Brainworks, Soundhouse or API kind of compressor that is quite transparent, where you don't necessarily even hear that there's compression there. It just makes everything sound more uniform. Then we have a limiter here, like a limit compressor, so it's not gonna add any distortion to your sound. It's gonna start to pump rather than distort. And once again, we have a mastering grade clipper here, which will add distortion as hard clippers do. This is for if you want to master your track, you can add clipping, or if you're in some more extreme EDM genre or metal genre where you really want to clip your snare, for example, you can do that with this section. Then we have 5 different EQ knobs that are very, very clearly and handpicked to be perfect to kind of tackle the most obvious problem areas that you have in the track. So if you turn this lower, the sub knob, you're actually getting a low cut, and you're cutting away lows in the style of an SSL high pass filter. So it's a very smooth and natural sounding low cut. If you boost this, you're getting a Pultec boost. So everyone from Andrew Shaps to CLA to, Puig even has his own plugin that is a Pultec. So that is what this does. It boosts the low end very evenly and adds punch. Then we have the low knob. If you turn it down, it gets rid of mud in your low end. If you boost it up, you're adding kind of around 150 hertz, where you usually tend to have snare low end, guitar low end, vocal low end. You're adding that very good bass in your signal if you need it. Then same goes for the mid-range. You're actually cutting that annoying mid-range cardboardy sound around 500 hertz when you're turning this down. If you boost it up, you're actually boosting the pleasant nasally mids. You can go too far, around 1500. So that is industry standard. Once again, if you listen to CLA or Zach Cervini mixes, you will see that, for example, on vocals and many other instruments, that 1.5K is just being pushed heavily. So that is what this one does. Then we have the high knob, which turns down a very nasty, annoying 3K, 4K area when you turn it down. But if you boost it, it actually boosts a little bit higher than that, which is a very pleasant place to boost. It will not sound very harsh, and you can add cuts to your instruments that way. Then similarly to the sub knob, if you turn down the air control, you're actually adding an SSL style high cut, as in low pass filter. That is very smooth, and you can sort of do the lo-fi trick. If you just turn both of these down, you have a very narrow kind of a band pass style EQ. Then if you boost this, you can go very high on the air control. This adds the very highest sibilance, so if you want to get more clarity in your mix, especially for mastering, if you want to add more sibilance, if you want to add more cymbal kind of chime, this is where you want to use this. And that's essentially it. So let's jump into how you would actually use this in a mix. So I have a mix here that I'm actually going to start out fully unmixed, and I'll quickly go through how I would use this for different circumstances. So let's just have a listen to the mix first. There is no mixing here. Completely unmixed, so it will sound a little bit terrible, but let's see if it sounds better in the end.
Turn the page and catch the pivot. No compass, just a storm. Embrace it down within it until you wash ashore. Don't fight, you can't win it. There's only the abyss. What you had is gone with it, but you still have your wits. Even if the landslide knows your glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you.
Okay, you get the gist of it. We have very nice raspy vocals. We have acoustic guitar, which you probably didn't hear that well because it's unmixed. We have bass, a P bass, and then we have my real pre-CBS Fender 63 Stratocaster. Then we have emo drums, completely unmixed, so not using anything on the mixer page. These are actually raw samples. And actually a pro drummer playing these on one of those drummer pad things. So not even electric drums, playing them on one of those amazing pad systems, and he added in some tambourine and shaker in here. So let's start with the vocals, because the vocals are the most important thing in the mix. That's just what most people listen to most of the time. So I'll quickly show you how I would work around vocals, and then I'll maybe explain why. So let's have a listen to that chorus section.
Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you.
Okay, so during that 15 seconds, I already have my compressor and saturation tweaked in. That is how quick it is to use Wavebreaker. So first I started with boosting saturation to the point where I can barely hear it, or I could clearly hear it, and then I turned it down, and then used the punch section, which was that 1176 style compressor. Now, that kind of a compressor is whatever takes your signal and puts it in front of the mix. So there's not a lot of things that deserve to get this kind of a compressor, if you ask me. So vocals and snare is pretty much where you will use this punch compressor, because it will really place everything in the upfront of the mix. So already let's compare before and after with just the saturation and compression.
Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances.
So right here, paused you can see that the dark teal that we have here is boosted by saturation, so the lower parts are now louder in volume, while the pops and things of that sort are now lower in volume with the compressor. And that you can see in white, and the saturation you see in teal, dark teal. So I'm mostly using saturation here. How about the EQ section? Because I wouldn't necessarily use a clipper for this. Let's loop this and I'll EQ it also.
Still dances, bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do.
So I added the low cut around 170. That is quite high, but that is where I felt like on my boy's Lauri's voice. By the way, check him out, Lauri Peisterä, an amazing voice and a very good friend of mine. Anyways, his voice sits a little bit higher, so you don't really need the mud in the low end, and this is a smooth low cut. So that is how I would use the low cut here. You don't need to boost sub lows for vocals. Let's try the second knob.
An arm's length, but glides by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got.
This is something that I would now compensate with the low end, but this is boosting kind of this side of a voice. Sorry about that. So if I would boost here, I would maybe cut the lows even more. So
shattered glass by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got.
That's pretty much perfect. So once again, now the low end is in control, but we're not losing all of the depth and warmth in this voice. How about the mid knob?
Shattered glass by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe.
So this is what I already talked about a little bit. 1500 is the magic frequency for so many things that cut. So in here it might sound a little bit unpleasant, but having that character in there will make his vocals sit in the mix so much better. So I know beforehand I want to find kind of a pleasant amount of that to be boosted in the vocals. So let's have a listen.
Shattered glass by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got.
That's pretty much perfect. Then the high knob.
Glass by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances.
So this high knob, if I turn it down, it's actually taking away from recognizing what it's actually saying, while boosting the high knob is giving me more of that kind of breathiness in his voice. So I want to get more of that breathiness, but he already has naturally a very breathy tone, so definitely don't need to go too far with this.
Glass by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got.
That's pretty much it. And then the air is a little bit tricky. If I go too far, I would need a de-esser for this, so careful with this one.
Glass by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you.
Okay, that's pretty good. Now let's A/B no Wavebreaker versus Wavebreaker on.
Shattered glass by the light, and you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far.
So subtle, but you can already tell it's gonna sit so much better in the mix. Now let's jump to something completely else. Many times for vocals, by the way, I want to have some kind of an echo. This doesn't have echo, so I'm just gonna add in an Arturia 201 slap.
Glass by the light,
Just fits the song.
and you.
This is a very good plugin, by the way. This is the default preset, just turning down the dry wet a little bit. So nothing crazy there. Next thing would be drums. For drum bus compression, many times I want to use the glue. And if I want to compress separately, like a snare or something like that, then I would use the punch. But let's see what happens here. This is the drum bus. So we have Emo drums completely unmixed. So raw samples and a shaker and a tambourine. So So what I did there was, once again, start with the saturation, and with the saturation I'm adding so much sustain to all the hits. And this is the drum bus, so everything is going into this, including the kick, shaker, tambourine, everything is going into this instance. And so this is affecting everything, so I'm only using the punch compression, and you can see I just very subtly use it on the highest hits. And this is a gain reduction meter right here, so we are getting -5 dB of gain reduction, which is a lot, but it's mainly just influencing those heavy snare hits on this bus. So I wouldn't necessarily feel like I need to EQ here, because it sounds pretty awesome. It's Emo drums, why would you EQ it? But okay, so that's a generic idea. I boosted a little bit of that Pulsec boost, the Puig Sheps Pulsec CLA boost to get more impact from the kick. Turned down the muddy frequencies just a tiny bit, scooped it mids just a little bit to get rid of that cardboardy sound, but overall just doing very minor tweaks, like 1 or 2 dB. So right now not doing anything huge, just minor adjustments here. But let's have a comparison of Wavebreaker on the bus and not on the bus. Instantly sounds more pro, right? Sounds like it was mixed on an analog console or something. So much more warmth, so much more punch, and everything just sits very nicely. So that was just a few seconds on Wavebreaker on the drum bus. What we can do here is mix the snare kind of separately. So this is just on the snare track of drums, Wavebreaker doing nothing right now. But let's have a listen to if I can add more punch to the snare, just affecting the snare right now. Now I'm having a gain staging issue right now. I would normally boost the input here, but then I can't A/B this tutorial, so for that reason I'm just gonna crank the compression all the way up. I could have gone even further than that, but that is adding more punch to the snare. Let's have a listen to the comparison here. So that is already adding so much more impact. Let's see if it's over the top in the verse part. Yeah, it was a little bit over the top in the verse section, so I turned it down a little bit more. Then I feel like I want to do something with the overheads. So that's really all I wanted to do. I just cut the lows out of the overheads. I don't really want to have stereo kick in there. So that's all I'm really doing, trying to get rid of the kick from the overheads and the context. And then some nasty mid-range frequencies, I wanted them out, so I scooped the overheads just a little bit. And also around that 3K mark, the cymbals can many times become a little bit nasty sounding. So turning that down just a tiny bit and then compensating by adding a little bit more air. Many times I'm gonna be adding like a lo-fi effect for the room. Very subtle once again, but in the entire context, these subtle moves just make everything sound better. So I'm adding a lot of saturation, cutting all the lows out essentially from the room track. I guess it would be good to hear the room track separately, but you're never gonna hear it separately, so kind of it doesn't matter. But this is what it sounds like now. Okay, that's the drums. Let's jump to the guitar tracks now. You can actually tell that we already have vocals and drums working. So let's start mixing in the mix context, because you never really want to do EQ tweaks or things like that out of the mix context. The reason why I did it here was because we are starting with vocals and drums. So you will actually hear those sort of out of the mix context. So those I recommend you actually mix on their own, but everything else like guitars, bass, acoustic guitar like we have here, you want to hear them in context. So let's have a listen to what this track sounds like with vocals and drums.
Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you.
Okay, let's add guitar in.
Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart.
Okay, so I'm feeling like the guitars are too muddy. I'm actually using ML800, so my 63 Fender Stratocaster into ML800, bypassing the cabinet section here, and then using the Miko 2 plugin, and I'm blending a pre-Rolla Marshall M75, which is the regular greenback, and then the H55 with a 421 microphone, and that would be the Jimi Hendrix spec. So I'm kind of going Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix at the same time for the guitar tone, but I feel like it's a little bit muddy for this mix. So let's see what we can do to make it better. I'm still muting the bass and acoustic guitars.
This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you. Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, what I believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you. Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, what I believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length away from you. Shattered glass, but the light in you still hard. What I believe in second chances. This is what
It sits so much better now, and notice that I mixed, and I only EQ'd, by the way. I'm not going to add saturation or compression on electric guitar. I EQ'd completely in mixed context. So these EQ tweaks, I wouldn't have landed here if I didn't hear it in mixed context. So I pushed a lot of the highs, a lot of 6K on guitars. You would never do that if I wouldn't have known that it works. And same for the mids, I'm adding more nasality to the guitar tone and then cutting the lows. And now that I hear it out of the mixed context, it actually makes sense. Before, and with the EQ. That's pretty much perfect. So we still maintain that warm sound that I was going for. It does have the warmth, even though I'm playing on the Strat, but I'm not taking so much space in the mix with the guitar tone anymore. So that is how you EQ guitars very quickly with Wavebreaker. Then for the bass, I believe we only have DI bass, so this will be interesting. And the bass track. Okay, let's hear it in the mix context.
From you. Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, what I believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you. Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, what I believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you.
I can finally hear the bass. So I added a bunch of saturation and not actually limiting it as much as it seems. Once again, I actually have a gain staging problem. It's not a problem if you use Wavebreaker. Just so I can A/B it for you guys. I'm not fixing it here. Normally I would just boost the input from here and that would fix the thing. But hey, let's have a A/B of how much Wavebreaker actually fixed the bass tracks here.
Dances, bruised heart, what I believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you.
I almost can't hear it without Wavebreaker. Let's have a listen to what it actually sounds like. So that's me on the bass, by the way. So it's a bit difficult to see in this context, but you can see that I'm adding the sustain in with the saturation and using the limit mode of the compressor to just cut that snappy, annoying bit. And you can actually hear it quite well that without Wavebreaker, this bass track sounds very clanky and doesn't have any sustain or oomph to it, while using Wavebreaker does that actually. So without it, and with it. And these EQ moves, I actually kept the EQs quite neutral. I didn't feel like they did much. But what did do much is add some mid-cut. Once again, that nasally 1500 frequency adds that nice nasally character in there. And then just cutting the highs because I felt like that clanky sound was coming through a little bit too much. Then moving on to the acoustic guitars. And let's see if we can make them sit in this mix.
But the light in you still dances, bruised heart.
I actually want to hear what they sound like. That is my Martin D28, so big money acoustic guitar, recorded with actually the mic that I'm talking into right now. So that's a KM184. Ultimately, you need to get rid of that big low end that the guitar actually does have. But I still want to start by adding saturation in to the point where it still sounds like an acoustic guitar. So adding sustain and warmth into the sound, and then using the limit mode of the compressor to get rid of those nasty spikes, because you don't really want to hear that much. Now I need to compensate with the EQ, but let's hear it in the mix.
Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances, bruised heart. What I believe in second chances. This is what you got. And that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you. And glass, but the light in you still dances, bruised heart. What I believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you. But the light in you still dances, bruised heart. What I believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away. Shattered glass.
Let's hear the guitars and acoustic guitars together. So I'm on purpose kind of cutting where I boosted on the electric guitars to make them sit together so I can hear both of them definitely electric guitar is more important. So, we have kind of this amazing little puzzle piece thing going on with the acoustic guitars and the electric guitars. You usually barely can hear acoustic guitars, but you hear that percussive kind of clank on the top end. Let's hear it in the mix context again.
Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, I wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do.
And then just let's A-B what we did. So this is with Wavebreaker off. Just lowered the compression and the air boost just a tiny bit. I felt like maybe it was a bit over the top. Doesn't need to be that over the top. So that is essentially everything. We haven't really mixed the backing vocals because there actually weren't backing vocals. I just pitch shifted the main vocal, so these actually sound terrible.
Shattered glass by the light.
So that's all the tune faked backing vocals. But let's see, okay, I had some settings in here. I was just about to say, I would usually have these almost distorted and very low in volume and limited to be very kind of stable, but lower in the mix, while the vocals are punchy and in your face. So you kind of have this, once again, puzzle piece thing going on. So let's have a listen to just the backing vocals.
Shattered glass by the light and you still dances. Bruised heart, I wanna believe in second chances. Shattered glass by the light and you still dances. Bruised heart, I wanna believe in second chances.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be good enough. Let's hear them together.
Shattered glass by the light and you still dances. Bruised heart, I wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length. But
yeah, that's pretty good. So now we have an entire song mixed with Wavebreaker. Now I'm gonna master this with Wavebreaker. So I already had this actually on throughout this entire section or this entire tutorial, but I didn't have anything on. We have a loudness meter and a normalize here. So first of all, I want to glue compress everything. So I'm gonna play the song further and add maybe 2 dB of glue compression.
and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you. I know your name. Shattered glass by the light and you still dances. Bruised heart, I wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length. Shattered glass by the light and you still dances. Bruised heart, I wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you.
What I did there was just many minor tweaks to the EQ. and normalized it to around -10 LUFS. That is the industry standard, and once you have the normalize knob on, it's gonna limit it to clip -1 dB. So that is, if you aim for that, that is Spotify ready loudness. Let's have a comparison of this mix without Wavebreaker and with Wavebreaker. With that said, thank you for watching this video. I'm Mikko from MO Sound Lab, and right now we released this Wavebreaker plugin with an amazing 50% off discount. So get the free trial, give it a try. If you like it in your workflow, go get it. It's a no-brainer. It doesn't cost almost anything, actually. It's crazy. See you on the next one, and enjoy this comparison.
Turn the page and catch the pivot. No compass, just a storm. Embrace a drought within it until you wash ashore. Don't fight, you can't win it. There's only the abyss. What you had is gone with it, but you still have your wits. Even if the landslide knows your name. Shattered glass, but the light in you still dances. Bruised heart, wanna believe in second chances. This is what you got, and that has to do an arm's length, but still far away from you. Truth ain't fair if it don't come clean. When we ride dirt roads to the in-between, something lost, something found, but only we can chase what still resounds. Even